Welcome back to podcast 40 of 2021. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. Follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at The Oddsbreakers and follow us on social media / The Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by MyBookie.ag. For a 50% sign-up bonus, please visit MyBookie and use the promo code The Oddsbreakers. Terms, conditions, and location apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the website and podcast, we'd love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. For $24.99 a month, you can get my premium plays before the line moves. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. My friends, we have a great show for you today because Chris Farley's coming on to discuss some NBA series pricing and hopefully a few games for your listening pleasure. Before Chris comes on, we're going to talk a little bit about college football once again. I have another play for you to go over, and it is a season win total. We're going to the ACC right now, a team that was very bad last year, the Duke Blue Devils, right? They only won 2 games last year. 2 games out of, I believe, 11. You know? Crazy for Duke. Crazy for such a good coach like Cutcliffe there. But what I want to look at is what they did in the past, right? What did they do before? In 2017, they had 7 wins, including their bowl games, 6 during the regular season. In 2018, they had 7 wins, including their bowl game. And in 2019, they had 5 wins, and they had a really terrible year in 2020. But they had a pretty hard schedule. Notre Dame was their non-conference. They whipped Charlotte, which was a non-conference game. And obviously with the COVID year, that's all they had. And Notre Dame, they did play in the ACC last year, so that was somewhat conference. But what I did want to say is that their season win total is listed at 3.5. And that is extremely low. And I know they don't return a ton of production. They rank like 113th, 114th. But the important thing is, what is their schedule this year? What's the Duke Blue Devils schedule? Because this school was bad at football and basketball, if you remember. They didn't even make the NCAA tournament last year. But in football, their first 4 games are at Charlotte, which they whooped last year. Charlotte's not that good of a team. North Carolina A&T, which is an FCS school. Then they get to play Northwestern at home, and Northwestern was good last year, but Northwestern ranks second worst, ranking 126th in returning production. You'll see a completely new Northwestern team out there. And then they get to play Kansas. Kansas is the worst Big 12 team, power rated probably worse than most of the group of 5 teams. That's their first 4 games, and their season win total is 3.5. I mean, if they win those 4 games, they don't even have to win an ACC game this year. Right? Now, I expect them to win 3 of these games. They'll probably lose to Northwestern. And heck, maybe they lose to Charlotte or something and beat Northwestern. I don't know. But I expect 3 wins. That just only leaves them 1 game that they need to win in the ACC. They get Georgia Tech at home. That's a potential win. At Wake Forest. At Virginia. Nah, probably not. Pittsburgh at home, maybe. At Virginia Tech, they replaced a ton of people this year, but probably not. Louisville at home, Louisville has their own problems, and then they get Miami at the end. They got to beat one of these guys, probably Georgia Tech or Pitt. But that should be a pretty simple 4 games to get to, looking at their history with David Cutcliffe as their coach. I like the over 3.5, and we are playing it for this season.
Tell them to bring me my money.
Yeah! All right. Without further ado, let's start our segment, Farley's Force, with our very own Chris Farley. And now I'm very happy to welcome back one of our very own handicappers to the show, Mr. Chris Farley from the ODDSBREAKERS.com. Chris, how the heck you doing this week, my man?
Thanks, Kev. Yeah, it's a big week for me. I'm not, I don't mind talking about it. It's my wedding week, so there's a lot going on. Very busy. It's amazing how busy you get leading up to a wedding, especially if it's a bigger one. All the different nuances that go into it. But I love talking basketball with you, and just talking on the pod. So it's a pleasure to be here. Once again, we're on to the second round, Kiev. So things are getting interesting.
On to the second round. You're getting married this weekend?
I'm getting married Friday. Yep.
Oh my goodness, if I knew that, I wouldn't even bothered you. So thanks for coming on for that. No, that's congratulations. I thought it was next week, and that's why I said that, because I know you said that a couple weeks ago. But that's great, man. A huge step in your life there, security and everything like that. So huge congrats to you, Chris. Fantastic stuff, man.
Thank you.
And really excited to talk some NBA with you, because a lot of craziness has happened, right? I mean, the Lakers going down the way they did. Are the Suns that good, or the Lakers that bad? I mean, without Anthony Davis, this looked like a completely different team, didn't it?
It did. And man, when Anthony Davis turns it on, I think it was in games 2 and 3. There's few athletes in the NBA who can take over a game like him. He's just so long. He's so big. It became a little meatier the past few years too, so you can really shrug guys off of him. And he's just a hawk at the rim when he's motivated. But then, the problem with these young guys, I think Charles Barkley said something about it too, which, Charles Barkley says a lot of things, but this was a good one. He was like, if I'm Anthony Davis, I'm doing something wrong, because I'm getting too injured this young too often. Right. And that's going to continue to be, who's going to want to sign, even though he's a out of this world talent, if Anthony Davis doesn't stay with the Lakers, who's going to want to sign him with his injury past? That's a huge part. You have to be on the court to make a difference, and it just keeps on happening. So that was, it wasn't that disappointing to me, because I love to see new blood in there, but obviously I did a podcast on the Western Conference predictions, and I had the Lakers as the highest odds to actually make it to the finals because of the LeBron factor. But LeBron at certain points did not seem, to be honest, he didn't seem that intrigued or motivated himself to carry the team on his back, and that was the end of the Lakers. I thought he could do it still, even with Anthony Davis down, but I think that team needs some rebuilding. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like you think they added the correct pieces but then Davis goes down, and then LeBron. It kind of looked like the 2019 Lakers a little bit. That didn't make the playoffs. It was really that bad. Well, that's interesting. Another big team that went down was the Dallas Mavericks, and they were hot for a while, right? They're leading the Clippers, and you're thinking, okay, well, here we go. Luka Doncic is doing great, and Porzingis is there, but then it kind of just, the ugliness of the fact that nobody else seemed to do anything really showed its face. This team reminded me of the James Harden Houston Rockets, Chris. That's good. Good to the eyes until they really play a good team, and then you realize there's one player and everyone else is kind of standing around. Was it something like that? Was it similar, would you say?
I think so. People don't realize, I don't think, just how gifted Luka is. He doesn't really have like the, prototypical athlete's body or anything, but he's kind of looks a little like, frumpy out there. But the guy's been playing professional basketball since he's 14, and and even in Europe, that's tough to do. And he just finds ways to make shots. He was really brilliant throughout that series, and it's the reason why I chose the Mavs, I think, +6 in Game 7, because especially at LA, they played better. Each of the all 7 of the games, well, all 6 of the games, the away team won until the Clippers rounded it up there in Game 7 at home. But Luka was magnificent, and it's kind of like Damian Lillard. It feels like they need another piece. And Chris Stapp didn't quite do enough. It's not consistent who's his number one and number two, supporters on the side. Like who's the clear number two in Dallas? I guess it's supposed to be Chris Stapp, but he didn't do enough. And they need to improve on defense too. They don't really have a lot of solid defenders that can stop a team like the Clippers, who are so star-studded once they get going. So, hats off to Luka. He's an awesome offensive performer, just like Damian Lillard. And, you really want these guys to win because they seem like good guys. They're awesome to watch. Who's more clutch than Damian Lillard? But when you don't have good defense and when you don't have a solid supporting cast, it's really hard to win in the NBA.
Yeah, it's about the stars. And Chris Stapp, you're right. He's more of a stretch four type player. No post game. Didn't really seem like he could do much inside, and that's where they needed him. You need somebody down there, right? I mean, Luka can only go so far, and Dame, man, what a fan. He looked like the best player. Well, next to I guess Durant maybe, but still, I mean, out of the whole playoffs here in a way, since AD got hurt too. And I gotta tell you, man, there's a lot of pressure for Dame to leave Portland. And I think that's a shitty thing about basketball. It's like, why does it always have to be one of the three? How could you be a Grizzlies fan? How could you be a Portland fan if that's what you're going for? They got to attract some talent, but it's hard to do that when teams can go, or players can go to New York and make more money just off endorsements. They can go to LA. It's more flashy there, obviously stars, Hollywood. It blows my mind that they don't try to make it a little bit more evenly competitive. And I really hope Dame stays to Portland just because I want to see more teams. Is that something that you think can happen and they leaves this year?
I think it could happen if they immediately, took Lillard seriously in some of the comments that he's saying, and they gave him some pieces, around him that could really change the trajectory of that team. I hear Colin Cowherd talk about this too, and I think it's a great point. When Russell Wilson with the Seahawks, spoke out about his frustrations, the Seahawks immediately came to the table because they didn't want to frustrate or piss off Wilson because they know he's a once-in-a-generation talent. Lillard is that kind of talent. I mean, you're not going to draft a Damian Lillard, anytime soon, probably. So, you don't want this guy to leave. So you need to immediately go to the bargaining table and include him in that and say, what do we need to do to turn this ship around? Because you almost can't blame the players these days for wanting to go to other teams and win a championship, because it's not fair when you have teams like the Nets and the Clippers and the Lakers last year, I guess, if Anthony Davis is healthy. But if you have star-studded teams like that, it's going to be really, really tough, especially if you don't have a great defense, to ever beat those teams in a 7-game series. Maybe one game, but over time, they're going to get bested, and that's what keeps on happening. Carmelo is obviously beyond his prime. I like McCollum, but he's not always clutch. I think Damian needs a big man that can really kind of bring it in. And look, if Anthony Davis is going to go on the free market here, maybe Anthony Davis to Portland, maybe Damian to the Lakers. I mean, who knows? I've already heard the rumorville, but you almost can't blame the players, but you also, you do want them to be loyal. So I hope he stays in Portland too. I would love to see Portland actually win it. But who knows what's going to happen?
Oh, you can't blame the players at all. Why would you not go for more money? Why would you not go for a bigger set? You blame the league for setting it up like that. At least with the NFL, it's built to correct itself through harder schedules when you finish better, through franchise tags. You can keep your players, and the salary cap's all even pretty much. It's like, I don't care if the city has more money. This is where you're at. I mean, these are the things that keep competition good in the league. So, yeah, definitely not the players' faults for trying to do the right thing for themselves. But this is an Adam Silver thing, as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, moving on to what's important for this show, Chris, we have some series out there, and obviously the Bucks got destroyed yesterday, and I think their series price is not looking too good for them. Of course, they're playing the Nets, and the Nets are probably the favorite to win. Well, they are the favorite to win it all. I guess the question is, Do you like any of these series prices? We can start with the Nets Bucks. I mean, the Nets are minus 415. The Bucks are plus 335. Do the Bucks have a chance here?
I don't think so. I think the Bucks need to turn the ship around really, really quickly to have a shot. I mean, we need to see like a totally different Bucks team. I mean, they were losing by I think 50 points in the fourth quarter at one point. I mean, it ended in the 40s, the margin. That's pretty embarrassing. Kyle Hunter and I actually talked about this recently. Giannis needs to become more of a leader, I think. I mean, somebody needs to like light a fire in the collective asses of the Bucks team members, because I mean, consistently now we're seeing it, especially with Chris Middleton, right? God, he could not make a shot to save his life yesterday. And I don't know if it's the big moment, if it's at Brooklyn, the intimidation of all those stars. I mean, Kevin Durant, he is not likable in a lot of ways, I would say. I mean, he chirps a little too much for me. However, the guy has a stoic calm out there in these big moments. He does not feel the pressure. It doesn't seem like it anyway. And then you have Kyrie, who's along with it too. You have an egoless Blake Griffin, making slam dunks like he's 10 years younger. I mean, this is a Nets team that has more chemistry than I expected, which is a pretty scary thought. Even without James Harden, I don't know how long he's going to be out, but the Bucks, Kiev, if they don't, I mean, we need some kind of significant shift off the court, something to be happening, and I can't, dependably predict that that's going to happen in any sense, because they've just been completely dominant, and the Nets have shown some pretty good defense too, which is also really scary.
Oh, for sure. And I know DiVincenzo Dante is he's injured, right? But
right.
It's not like he was a huge player for the Bucks, but I wonder if that hurt them a little bit there for as far as chemistry. I mean, you got Giannis there that you can't just keep carrying them. But the Nets are too good. They're built too well. Kevin Durant is just unstoppable. And then Kyrie, if he's hitting his shots, I mean, why do you need James Harden? You don't.
Right.
I mean, if I'm James Harden, I'm sitting there resting for the rest of the series until I'm needed, really, because I'm not sure if he's going to be needed. This could be a complete sweep, and I think that's where you look at. There might even be some value in this minus 400 from what I'm seeing here.
I know.
If you lay 415 to make 100, heck, I don't see how the Nets lose this one. So those are my thoughts on that. Nugget, another big series price. The Suns are up here, 1-0, and the Suns are minus 400 as well. Plus 320 on the Nuggets. Do the Nuggets have a shot here?
I want to say yes, Kiev, because I like the Nuggets. So this is, I'm saying that because it's obviously some internal bias going on. But the sports betting side, to me, the mental game here, I don't think so. I think the Nuggets are going to surprise the Suns. This is not going to be a 4-0 series. I mean, I would be really shocked if it was. But the Nuggets, I think, we saw the way that the Suns can move the ball around. I mean, the Nuggets were hanging in that game. They were winning in the second half, but then the Suns just kind of turned it on. There's something that Chris Paul is able to do for this team when he's healthy, obviously. Facilitating, I think it takes pressure off of Devin Booker to just kind of be an assassin. DeAndre Ayton is a nice surprise too. I mean, I wouldn't think that a player as young as him would, show the moxie and he feels like a experienced center out there. Mm-hmm. And then the Suns just have a lot of skilled players. Bridges, Crowder, who can make shots from the outside, and when they're fluid, like when Chris Paul is handling the ball, of course he's not going to lose the ball because he's Chris Paul, and he's dishing it around the perimeter. The Suns are really tough to stop once they get going. We saw that against the Lakers, who had the number one defense in the regular season all year. So I would have to fade any plays on this too. There might be a little value on the Suns here, but I can't lay that number with a team like the Suns, who's still a little too unproven for me. But I can't lay it on the Nuggets either, because I truly don't believe that they're going to win this series. I think they'll go down 2-0, maybe win a game or two. But the Suns are clicking right now, and you could see it just by the eye test watching.
All right, well, no disagreement here, but I do agree with not laying the 400 because it's not like the Nuggets are. They don't look as deficient as the Bucks, and the Suns don't look as good as the Nets. So I think that I probably would not lay the -4. I would probably lean more towards the +320. Jazz Clips, and the Clips finished it off like we mentioned earlier, and the Jazz are, I think, one of the greatest home teams this year. The Jazz are a slight favorite, -125. What's your thoughts on this one?
I think the Jazz are worth that price. I'll make a small play on that. Of course, you can, easily make more money just probably betting on the Jazz to win certain games, even if it's a money line price, because the lines aren't going to be, too rich on the Jazz. And when it goes to the Staples Center, I can see the Clippers being favored there. So I don't really see a lot of value on this line necessarily, but I would lean for sure to the Jazz side. I trust the Jazz more in the sense that they actually, they do have a leader. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is pretty vocal out there. Gobert can be the same way, but they're such a great team the way they play. I mean, they have leadership, but they're also egoless, whereas the Clippers, man, I mean, when Kawhi performs like he's done, obviously, they're probably going to win, especially if Paul George is doing well along with them. But when they hit any sort of challenge, like anything that requires somebody to speak up and, say something or yell something or just, get the team to rally, Kawhi is so quiet. Paul George is kind of the same way. I don't know who their leader is, and I think they're going to have to go through a lot of adversity in the series against the Jazz, who are just a complete team, who are probably not going to take a night off. They're a very, very consistent team, whereas the Clippers, sometimes you don't know what to expect from them. So Jazz are a complete team on offense and defense, and I don't see them slowing down. So there's value with the Jazz, but I probably wouldn't play this either just because I think I could get more value from other bets.
All right, good stuff. So it's last one, 76ers, -133, 135 in some books, around +110, +115 for the Hawks. Is this series going to be a close one as well?
Yeah, the audience, forgive me, I don't know what the opening numbers were on the series, but that's pretty good value on the Sixers now. This is my favorite series to talk about just because Trae Young is, he could be the next superstar. I mean, he I'll be honest, I was writing my article for the picks today, and I was saying the same thing in the article. It's like I wasn't aware that Trae Young had that much moxie. He just has like an attitude and an energy when he's on the court, especially when he's on an away court. that I think it lights a fire under his team, and I love to see that. Anybody who's played sports know that when you have a vocal leader like that, who not only produces and facilitates, but isn't shy in those big moments, that really does wonders for your team. We see it in people like Tom Brady and LeBron James all the time. So Trae Young is a really exciting player, and I would not be shocked if the Hawks beat the Sixers. Do I think the Sixers are going to win this series? Yes. But again, sorry to keep on leaning and not having any plays here, but I can't take either side because I think this is going to be a 6 to 7 game series, and it's going to be very interesting and exciting to watch.
Good stuff. So no plays for that, but they play each other tonight. -6 for the Clips. -6 for the 76ers, and the Jazz are -3. Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I was able to get the Sixers at 5.5, which was a little late to the game too. I think they were even lower at one point, but I am going to make a play on the Sixers tonight. If anybody watched Game 1, obviously the first half of that game, it seemed as if the Hawks really took the Sixers by surprise. It seems like the Hawks are taking a lot of teams by surprise. People don't really realize just how good they are and how productive they are on offense. But then once the Sixers settled in a little bit more, they outplayed the Hawks in the second half. I have it written down here somewhere, but I think they scored something like 70 points. Yeah, 70 to 54. They outscored and outplayed the Hawks in the second half. And then at the end of that game, I couldn't believe how many times the 76ers caused turnovers and almost came back and tied that game out. That was crazy. So I expect a lot of that energy to carry into this game. I have a small play on the Sixers full game, -5.5. At -6 would be an even smaller play for me. But I like the first quarter and first half bets a little bit more. You can get The Sixers money line in the first quarter, and not too juiced up. It's like minus 180, but then the first half line is -3 or -3.5. I like those plays because I expect a very energized Sixers team to come out. I'm sure that'll carry over for the entire game, but I like the first quarters of play a little bit more for the Sixers because the Hawks have shown an ability to score in bunches and come back. So they can make the game closer towards the end.
All right, first quarter, first half. We'll look at the derivative market here. Anything for the Jazz then? And this is obviously 0-0 this series.
Yeah, I'm expecting a little bit of a letdown for the Jazz -3, only because I'm sorry for the Clippers because the Clippers just had that big win in Game 7, and they're just too volatile for me. They're just they don't always bring the same heat and the same energy. This is at Utah, where, like you said, the Jazz are fantastic at home. That building should be rocking, and the Jazz are not going to have an off night. I mean, they have so many contributors. The Clippers do too, but something happens within that team leadership-wise where it just kind of falls apart. I like the Jazz -3. I'm going to put 1.5 on that, and I also like you have a play on the under, just because these are two of the slower teams entering the postseason. They both have really proficient defenses, and I think Kawhi and Paul George are going to be more bothered by the lengthy, pesty Jazz players than they were in their last series. I mean, like we talked about, the Mavs don't really have a great defense. The Clippers kind of stifled themselves. Right. But I expect both of these teams to look a lot better on defense, and I think 220 is a little too rich.
All right, 220.5 in some books as well, so check that out. And tomorrow's game, Denver Nuggets versus the Suns. The Suns are 6 points here. Is that a good line for you, or what are your thoughts?
I don't like that line, actually. I think the Nuggets are going to play this game a lot closer. Obviously I could see the Suns still winning by margin, but I like it. I don't know if I'm going to have a play on the Nuggets, so I'll probably just fade that play. But I'm going to look at the total again because, we hit the over yesterday, and it almost doesn't matter the pace of play of these two teams. They're both just so effective on offense, just high percentage shooting, that I might be looking at another over. I don't see it yet. I'm trying to bring up what that is. Do you see it on your end, Kiev, the total for tomorrow?
It is 222.
Yeah,
I just saw it. Just pull it up.
Yeah, that's only slightly more than yesterday. It was 220 yesterday, so I'll probably have another play on the over. Nuggets and Suns, I described this in my write-up yesterday, just have a lot of good matchups that I think favor both offenses. And at some point it's going to slow down, but I don't know if Game 2 is the spot.
All right, 222 is what we're at right now, and it did go over by a lot. So good stuff on that one. And finally, you do have a line here for the Brooklyn Nets. It's against the Bucks, and the Bucks are actually favored -3.5 in Milwaukee. It's -105. The +3.5 is -115, and the total on this is 235. Is the home court worth that much in Milwaukee?
Yeah. It's interesting what happens psychologically with sports betting is a lot of us probably look at that line, right, and we're like, the Bucks are favored. The Bucks must know something here, so I kind of want to play in the Bucks. And I mean, I get it. The Bucks are at home. They're pretty good at home. They weren't exceptional at home this year like previous years, but they're probably better at home. But I'm probably going to play a money line on the Nets. I'm sick of, I guess, sticking up for the Bucks and expecting them to really show up and put on a show, or for us to see the best side to them. I've been defending them, and so again, the cautionary tale here for bettors taking my side. Maybe it's my internal bias, but until I see Chris Middleton shooting above 40% at least, I'm not going to touch the Bucks because they just don't have the supporting cast right now to keep up with the Nets. And I really feel the Bucks are running, I believe, at the fastest pace in the postseason right now. Oh no, they're top four. I think that's really hurting them. The Bucks need to slow it down. Have more post play from Giannis and Brook Lopez because they're playing at this really fast pace, and the Nets have proven they actually have a lot of fluidity and team chemistry, and that's favoring them because they're just making shots, and the Bucks cannot keep up. So, I mean, something has to significantly change. Right now, without hesitation, I'm going to have a money line play on the Nets, and we'll see if something in the news changes my mind. But so far, I don't see any reason not to.
All right. Well, it looks like the Bucks are dead meat to me as well. So I think I'm going to be playing with you, Chris. No, great stuff. Thank you so much for sharing all that fantastic information here. And where can our listeners get your information and follow you on your social media sites?
Thanks so much, Kiev. Yeah, so I'm at Farley Bets on Instagram and Twitter. If you search that on Twitter, you'll see my Twitter handle is Chris R. Farley 1, but Farley Bets, if you type it in, it'll come right up. Obviously, a writer at theoddsbreakers.com, and really grateful and happy to be a part of your site, Kiev. I love doing it every day. It's one of the best parts of my day because I love sports and this whole industry. So you can find my daily articles there. My record the last 2 weeks is 30-21 in the NBA playoffs, and not too shabby. And I think I've talked about the 58% in the regular season a little much. So I'll stop talking about that. But it's been a good year to me in the NBA, and I'm going to keep on churning out the plays for everybody. So hopefully it turns around, because the last 2 days have been a little challenging. Some shocking results.
Oh, man, you've been awesome this year. Fantastic results in the NBA. We're very thankful to you, Chris, for all the great stuff that you showed us. So if you guys have any other questions, make sure you follow Chris on Twitter or follow us at The Odds Breakers. Everybody enjoy your rest of your week watching the NBA games and go get some winners.